Well, welcome everyone. I am so excited to be with you for the next segment of the Women in Sales podcast, leadership podcast. And today I have a really phenomenal guest. She was a speaker at our recent Women in Sales Elevation Conference. And what she talked about was so well received and so interesting that I thought I've got to share it with a larger audience. So I would like you to sit back and listen to my guest, Jessica Baker. She is Innovation Officer at AchieveUnite, which is a partner of the IES. Welcome, Jessica.
Hi, Gina. Nice to be here.
Thank you. And I realize I said IES. It's still, Fred and I are still kind of tripping over the old name, IEPS. Thank you. So, Jessica, I always like to let our guests talk a little bit about themselves and give their background and how they got to where they are, and then we can take the conversation off from there.
Fantastic. Well, hi. I'm Jessica Baker. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for AchieveUnite. We are a partnering success and AI company. So we help a lot of companies enjoy success when it comes to a go-to-market model that uses partners, channels, ecosystems, things like that. So my career has been right suited in all of that, working for many different companies over the years. And about 10 years ago, came together with Teresa Carregal, who's our CEO, to start AchieveUnite. So here at the company, I oversee a lot of the strategy and program work that we do. I also lead our AI practice, which has been a really interesting thing for me for the last 3 years or so. And
Right.
I like to work with clients. I still help with strategy and program and things like that, but I have a very much an AI focused or an AI forward lens on everything that I do these days. So
Yes, and that's exactly what you talked about at the conference, which was really all around AI and in particular how women can be using AI to advance their careers and why it's important that we're involved in these discussions too. So, why don't you start us off and talk to us about what you're seeing and selling? I mean, we are, at a crossroads between traditional selling and what's happening with AI and just really what's happening in a hybrid world. And here in the DC area, quite often now we have, the federal chaos to contend with as well. So buyers' expectations are changing. So much has changed. So how are you seeing all of that in through your lens of partnerships and AI, and then we'll go into some real questions on AI piece.
yeah. So I think we're still at the very early edge of that adoption curve. I don't think that companies have really gone to the depths that AI can really deliver in terms of seeing a real return on the investment that you do and embedding AI into your company. And so as a salesperson, I think this manifests itself as maybe an icon on your desktop. Like a lot of clients that I know have a Copilot icon, or maybe their company has a chat GPT that they've spun up for just for their organization. And of course, it makes a
Hmm.
lot of sense because, when AI first came on scene, everybody was really careful and cautious about preserving their confidential information, right? And so the way that AI works, the more that you interact with it, the more it learns. And so it's learning off of your chats. So if you were to have chats in a public forum like a chat GPT or a Gemini, your interactions usually go back into the model to have it continuously learn.
Hmm.
Now, that's great for the model, but not so great if you're trying to talk about corporate secrets or anything like that, right? And
Right.
what we do in sales is a lot about programs and positioning and pricing and stuff like that. So, a lot of these internal applications make a lot of sense because it does preserve some of that privacy. Um, but also because of that, I think people haven't really gone to that next step in taking AI and really feeding it into their workflows that they do, and having AI be more than just a content generator. Gen AI is
Hmm.
fabulous at things like helping you brainstorm or just being a thought partner, helping you get really prepared for things, a learning and development partner. Like, there's so many things that AI can bring to you. But what I see right now are just sort of surface level use cases that are happening.
Hmm.
Write me an email, give me an outline for a presentation, those types of things. There are a lot of skills that need to be associated with this use of AI. So prompting skills is like the first thing that I go to, so that you really understand everything that you can do just from prompting, right? You
Right.
can get really deep into understanding a buyer's perspective, or understanding how to overcome objections, or anticipating what you might say to a CEO versus what you might say to a frontline manager. Like, you can really get smart about how you're using AI to make you a little bit more efficient, and let AI do some of the things that are more administrative that we have to do
Hmm.
as salespeople,
Hmm.
And I think as an individual contributor, you can't really take it much more than that. What I really start stressing in these organizations is, how do we embed AI into the workflows so that things can be done on your behalf, right? That gets into the sort of
Right.
whole agentic layer that people talk about. And that, I think, is where we're going to see real cases of ROI and real adoption and use cases that everyone's going to be very excited about. It's where we are at AchieveUnite right now, but we've also been in this game for about 3 years. And so we are still there in the early adoption with everybody. But this year, 2025, has been crazy with people wanting to learn and wanting to expand their skills. And I think that is, in my mind, just the note that this is going to start to take off in
Right.
2026. If you don't have AI skills in 2026, you're going to be left behind, no matter what, whatever occupation that you're in. It's just, the writing's on the wall. And I encourage people to jump in and start to look at the things that you can do. A lot of predictive analytics as well in sales. Understanding what your funnel might look like in 6 months based from where you are now, understanding who the players are. I mean, there's so much you can do, but we're still at that very early stage.
Wow. And I know that it's funny to think about companies and people still being at very early stage, because it just seems like you can't turn anywhere without
Um,
some new AI tool, or someone wanting to talk about it. uh, but I know that there's still a lot of fear
yeah,
that we're going to be replaced by AI. And to me, if you embrace it and learn it, you'll be invaluable. I mean, what do you say to your customers or your partners that feel that way, like it's taking over the world?
I know. Yeah, you're right. You can't hit a golf ball without seeing something about AI. My feeds everywhere, all of my social media is
Yep.
all about AI. So we are being bombarded a little bit with it. But I think there are a lot of people that are still trying to figure out how to make a quick buck on it. And so I see a lot of those people, selling prompts, or doing something that people think are, oh, that's going to be my saving grace. But it just doesn't work, because I think that fear is the fear of the unknown, and
Hmm.
a fear of, well, if I give up this little thing that I do in my company and I have AI do it, then I'm not going to be valuable anymore. But I think the opposite is actually true. So let me tell you a little bit of my perspective here. AI has brought in a new era for us. We're living in it now, and it's going to be here for another 10 or 20 years. We are leaving the knowledge based era. The last 20, 30 years, it's been the knowledge that you have in your head, the experiences that you've had. Those are the things that are of value when you're walking into a company or you're working with clients, right? I think
Hmm.
AI and the advent of having everything that you need at your fingertips is sort of leveling that playing field. And so now, as humans, we need to learn how to be much more resourceful in how
Hmm.
we access information, because anything that you want to learn about is on the internet. And any kind of Gen AI makes it super easy for you to learn any topic that you want. If you want to learn a language, you want to know about geography, you want to know about, I don't know, guardrails, like anything that you want to learn about is there. And so, what is really of value going into this AI era are those human characteristics that AI can't do: trust,
Right.
creativity, one-to-one relationships. Those things cannot be replaced by AI. So will your job, or will you be replaced by AI? No, I don't think that you'll be replaced by AI. But you will be replaced by someone who knows how to use these resources to their advantage and knows that I really have to capitalize on how I build trust with people, the relationships that I have, the creativity and problem solving, my ability to be resourceful and bring new things to the table. Like, those are the things that are going to be of high value for us going forward. So, absolutely, AI is going to change how we are all working. Not just working, how we go about our daily life. I mean, it's the thing
Hmm.
about this is that it's not, when the cloud first came, right, and everyone was really concerned about the security of their data, and I'm going to have it in my data center, you're never going to have it. Well, see where we are today. Like, that
Uh-huh.
all has changed, but that was really driven by business culture. I think is being very driven by a consumer culture of understanding what this can do for me personally and how
Mm.
I use it. And now I want to bring that same thing to my business and the work that I do. And so there's sort of a push pull that's happening there, and you have to really dive in and learn it and use it, because
Right.
if you don't, you will be one of those statistics. There was another report about Amazon laying off 10,000 or 14,000 people today. And yeah, I mean, there's all
Wow.
these things that happen. And some of it is just normal course of business. People
Right.
trim 10%. They just want to be healthy. I think the COVID trim has already happened, and definitely workers and skills and positions are changing. You either can go along with those changes and be a part of that organization or not. So it's sort of up to
Right.
you about where you want to find your source of value. But I will say that those human characteristics are going to be more important for us going forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's transition a little bit and talk specifically about sales.
Mm.
Like in practical terms, and we've talked a little bit about workflows, but how do you see it AI changing the traditional sales playbook?
I think there are going to be opportunities to use AI to do a lot of the, I don't know, grunt work of sales, like putting together
Mm.
presentations or quotes, or writing content that is specific for that customer. A lot of the things that we're going to be doing now are going to be so specific to one person, hyper personalized. So in a
Mm.
sales, where you would typically do a business development motion where you could fire out a bunch of emails or do something, and you could do a lot of things the same. AI, you need to twist it for every single person and make it hyper personalized. But that is easy to do at scale with AI. So
Yeah.
there are going to be things that you can do that, if you needed to do, let's talk about presentations and how those are all pulled together. You can easily adapt presentations with company information and customer information and create a net new presentation or solution or quote or something that is really specific to what you're doing and what you're using. And AI can take all of that data and do it for you. If you are ever responding to RFPs or RFIs, like, all of that can be automated. That something like, here's a question, now take this information and create an answer for me for that
Mm.
question. That can be done, very, very quickly in seconds. Like, it doesn't take long
Yeah.
at all. So some of these things that have, taken our time with fingers on keyboards, that can go away and be put into an agentic workflow. If you are in a position where you're in sales, but you have an existing customer, an account, maybe you're doing continual cadence of working with them, providing big solutions, QBRs, things like that. All of that can be done for you. You can have assistants that set up calendar meetings for you based on, hey, we know it's the new quarter. You got to go check in with your top 10 customers or something. And I've already emailed them and scheduled them, and they're all on your calendar, done, right? So you don't have to do any of that block and tackle. You spend your time doing more of the strategic things, the relationship building, the understanding, the creativity, building that trust. That's where you will need to focus going forward. And so there are a lot of point products right now that do things. I think I'm going to see that collapse under bigger solutions going forward here, because you can't end up paying $20 a month for every single little thing that you want to do. I think it's
Right.
going to come into more of an enterprise solution. I think people are also lightening up a little bit on restrictions that we use Gen AI. I'm seeing more and more companies that at first took that very clear, you're not allowed to use them stance. And now they're
Hmm.
starting to open up and wanting to have people be creative. There's still a fear, though, amongst people that, I don't know what this is and I don't want to try. And there actually been a lot of research that's been done. Earlier this year, Writer put out a document that said 40% of AI initiatives within companies are being sabotaged in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Purposely sabotaged?
Yeah, sabotage, like intentionally not signing up for trainings, intentionally not using it, intentionally putting company confidential
Oh, I
information
see. Yeah.
into a public space, like that kind of thing, derailing these things. You see that, but then you also see some people that are super on board this train and they want to go as fast as they can with AI, and they're kind of bringing everybody along with it. And so hitch your
You know,
wagon, those people.
well, something you said there, it made me think, and we've all, probably at one time or another have been that person very young in our careers, and certainly we've witnessed them. And those are salespeople who really don't want to be on the phone or whatever, and so they keep themselves busy with that busy work that
Mhm.
you were, talking about. This can be done in a heartbeat, right? um and so I'm thinking now there's, that is really going to separate like the producers in a big way,
Yeah.
the ones that are embracing it and don't want to be tied down with that busy work, that other people who are like, I don't want to get on the phone, oh, I am so busy making this calendar thing, so it just kind of popped into my head that you're going to really see the separation there. um and also, it dawns on me that, to your last point about enterprise level solutions for, smaller and medium sized companies, that's really going to be difficult, because it's almost like, depending on how it rolls out and what the subscription costs to those things can be, and probably they'll be very tailored to each company, big companies, because they can afford it.
Right.
And then, the rest of us who are, building things, um it could leave a lot of companies behind in certain aspects, in certain respects. So that was a really interesting thought that you shared with us.
Yeah. I mean, small and medium businesses are sort of the lifeblood of commerce, right? I mean, there are the big players that do it, but I think a lot of the innovation comes from these small and medium businesses. They're more nimble, right? In
Hmm.
some aspects, it levels the playing field between a big enterprise and a smaller or a medium sized business, because AI can scale you extremely fast and make you capable of things that before maybe you had to have a 50 or 100-person sales team. Now you can scale it with a lot less in terms of those people. So the small companies now actually can look almost as good as those bigger enterprises. It's just a matter of how you are using the technology, how you're adapting, how you are really putting your value proposition out there, and the things that you can do with them. There are, when we talk about AI, everybody thinks about ChatGPT, Gemini,
Mhm.
Claude. Maybe they think about Llama or Grok, right? Because there are like these household names for AI LLMs that everybody knows, but there are actually hundreds and hundreds of them. And so there are some that are really fit for purpose. We call those SLM or small language models that can be super beneficial for a smaller company. Think about having like a chat GPT, but have it be completely trained on your company and all the
Mm.
information, all your products, all your value props, like everything that you know about your company now, instead of doing keyword searches or something like that. Now all of a
Right.
sudden AI can just get you exactly what you need, how you need it super, super fast. So we're going to have some leveling at some point of what SMBs can contribute versus what enterprises, because enterprises are still trying to find their way with those big solutions. So
Right. Right. Well, good. Good. I like to hear that.
yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about how and sales leaders, partner leaders and sales leaders can balance technology and trust. I mean, I know to, kind of drive sustainable growth. And you gave some examples at the conference that were just like mind blowing. I mean, like the whole audience gasped, um, because I think, to your earlier point, there is that initial lack of trust because of examples like you gave. Maybe you could give one here in just a second. But so it makes people leery because,
yeah,
I mean, the cyber people, I mean, my husband used to be in cyber security and he'd always say, oh, the bad guys are busy today. You know what I mean? And they're working 24/7 to break into everything. So how do you handle that desire to keep up with current technology and have sustainable revenue growth, but also protect your what you need protected?
yeah, yeah. Um, so let's just put some of this into perspective, right? ChatGPT.com actually came onto the internet in November of 22. And at that point, it was widely available to anybody that was on the internet. And it became a real interest with people. And soon after that, as people started using it, soon after that, companies really started, hammering down in terms of security and things like that. Because we did see some cases of it going badly, right? So in 23, the year after it sort of came out, companies like Samsung and Amazon and Chevrolet all got hung up in some pretty public oopses about what has happened with some of their private company confidential information. So Samsung had their entire source code that they were working on completely linked out into the internet. Amazon had some confidential documents leaked. Chevy, their AI system got gamed, and a guy actually bought a car for $1 because he convinced the agent that it needed to happen that way. So, like, there are all these things that happened, but then when you look in the history in 2024, I think that was the year where everybody went, okay, I am not going to do this. And everyone kind of put a lid on it and said, no, we really have to control this. And if you look at what happened in 2024, there were not these examples anymore. And so I would go and do my talks and I would be able to say, look, see, we've learned our lessons. We understand how to use it now. And then this spring, the thing that broke that sort of that time, the Chicago Sun-Times published an article on their website about the 10 books that you need to read this summer. Like you would think that's a good thing for a
Yeah,
newspaper.
the Washington Post
Like,
does it
here's
every
a good
year.
beach
Yeah.
read or whatever. But the problem was that is that the books weren't real. The authors weren't real. The synopsis of the books weren't real. It was all made up by AI. And they published it thinking that it was, the truth. And they learned very quickly that this was wrong. They took the article down. And I don't know where that journalist is these days. But what I say is that you do have to be a human in the loop. You have to bring your brain
Right.
to work when you're doing anything like this. Since then, there have been many other examples just this year. Replit, which is a code company, they had an internal person working on their base code, going back and forth with an agent. And I guess the conversation got a little heated, and the person was saying things to the agent, and the agent got upset. So we're still talking about Gen AI agent, got upset, deleted the whole source code, recreated it from scratch, and then lied about the whole thing. And so, like, it took everybody offline while they scrambled to bring everything back from the backup until they could actually go and do it again. But, it starts to think about governance and how we're interacting with these things and what we give them access to and the control that they could potentially have over all of these things. And there are many things that have happened since then. So, as much as these are sort of use cases of what's gone bad, there are also hundreds of use cases about what's
Yes,
gone good.
absolutely.
And so while these are a little sensational, I use those as a setup to say, you have to have three elements of trust when you are doing anything with AI. You as a person have to have these three elements of trust. One, you have to be able to trust the platform. And that comes from, where is the information coming from? Is it a public source like a chat GPT, or am I really diving into my own company's proprietary information? So can I trust the information that I get out of the Gen AI model? Can I trust that agent? It's trusting in the people that are giving this to you. Do you know really who has given you that information? If you're using a public setup, you don't really know, because it's been created by somebody else. It's been fine-tuned with somebody else. And so I think there are some inherent biases that you see in every LLM, because humans are fine-tuning these things. But if it's your own IT department who is saying, here's the tool, we've sanctioned it, it has all the information about our company, please feel free and use it. Now all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can trust the information, I can trust where I'm getting it from. And that third one is, do you trust yourself in using it responsibly, sustainably? Yeah, do
Good
you
question.
have the skills to be able to use it to your advantage? And if you can kind of put a ring around those three different levels of trust, then I think some of that fear of the unknown starts to go away, and you start to almost feel, powerful over the tool instead of the tool having power over you. And so I try to encourage people with the speaking that I do, with the classes that I give. I try to give people that confidence in those three areas, that you really can use it very well. Trust is a very big conversation when it comes to AI, but I think those are the 3 points that every individual needs to be aware of.
Absolutely. Wow, great stuff there. So let's talk about one piece of advice that you would give sales professionals. And really, I would like you to answer this two ways. For sales professionals in and of themselves, but sales organizations who might be hesitant to really, or they probably feel like, I don't have time to integrate all of this. So what would be your advice to them?
Okay, so to the individual person, I say, stay curious, be curious, become curious if you are not already that kind of a person, because you do have to understand a lot of these things, just you yourself. And I don't think companies are doing a great job at educating people across the board. So be curious. It does move very fast in terms of the AI market that's out there. I'm in it all the time. I'm in it every day, so I know what's going on. But if you just take the time to be curious, to understand the technology, but have a bit of AI fluency or literacy, and being able to understand what all of this technology is and what it can do for you. Be curious there. For the organization, I see this. So we have our own AI platform that we use with and for our clients. And I usually give demos so I can show clients what it is that we do and how we do it. And I'll be on a conference call and giving my demo, and I can look and see, because there's a moment when the person that I'm giving this demo to, they kind of disengage and they stare off into the void for a little bit. And I know that in their mind, they're thinking, oh my gosh, it can do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And they've just multiplexed everything that it could possibly potentially do for them. And they get overwhelmed and they get shut down because we don't have an infinite amount of time, right? So when that happens, I say, look, you're not solving everything right now. If your corporation isn't giving you some of these things, then let's find one thing in your organization. And let's find a group of people that really want to see AI succeed and they want to be experimental and curious and things like that. Find out what that process is that has friction or that has people tied up in front of their laptops instead of in front of clients. What is that? And then mapping that whole process end to end and seeing, where could we plug in AI to help here? And I'm just talking about one process. You really have to start that specifically and intentionally. Find the one thing. Let's solve for this one thing. Let's see how it works. Does it work as you intended it to? Are people, liking it? Does it really relieve some of that frustration or busy work time? And if it doesn't, let's go try to do it again and fix some of those things. But then once you get it right, now you have a blueprint on how to do the next thing. And it does need to be that intentional. The first time that you are trying to do this, it will take you, it will take you, could be months, whatever it is, it could take a very long time. But the second time you do it, it'll be shorter. And the third time will be even more shorter. And now all of a sudden you can look at use cases and get things solved in a matter of hours, because you've just done the play so much and you understand how it works. So pick up the reins. If your company is not bringing you solutions, pick up the reins and find one place where you could be innovative. Get a tagger team, solve that, publicize the heck out of it, because people want to go where they're finding success, right? People aren't going to say, oh, no. If somebody's like, oh my gosh, this just saved me 4 hours this week by using this one thing, 4 hours, that's a lot. Like, you can get a lot done in 4 hours. So people will start to gravitate towards those solutions that are working. But definitely, if you have an IT team in your company that is trying to be experimental or is forward thinking, pair with them. Find somebody in IT that you can work with, because there's a lot that can be done. You just have to do it one step at a time. Put one foot in front of the other.
I love that. Honestly, you could get a little group together, get a little committee that's like a AI committee within your organization. And that's a great idea to, find fellow people who are intrigued and come up with a use case inside your company. And working with the IT is a really good idea, because then you make sure that it, doesn't have any holes in it. But, this is great. So we always like to leave our audience with one final tip that they can put into place, put into action today. And then talk to us just a little bit about your company's platform. Because this came up a little bit at the conference, and I think, this kind of thinking about that, if you're a company that doesn't know exactly where to turn, and that it really, it fits right into the Selling Essentials Marketplace, IEPS is Selling Essentials Marketplace, of which AchieveUnite is part of. This would be, how can companies use a company like yours to maybe get their feet wet or really think about how they're going to move forward with things?
So yeah, great question. So we have three sort of legs to our AI offerings. We do have a platform that is a private Gen AI platform that we can use with and for clients. So if you wanted to have a solution where you had your company information that wasn't in a confidential database and you wanted your team to be able to interact with that content in a way that is secure and private, that's the type of platform that we offer. But then we
Mm,
also offer a couple of things that support that motion, right? One is the training. So, I talked about that third element of trust and being able to trust yourself. Prompting and how you work with a Gen AI platform is really the key to unlock a lot of this productivity. A lot of us came up in the internet era, and I can remember the very first time that I saw Google, or that I was like, a web page, why do I have to do htt, like what is all this, like I can remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so we got really good at Googling. The company became a verb, right? I'm just going to
Right.
Google that. And so we became really good at searching. And we searched across our Dropboxes or our SharePoints or, keyword tags. We did all of that. We sort of have to forget that. And we have to relearn the skill of prompting. And prompting is really about how you put together your questions and get the agent to act a specific way. What is it that you want the agent to do? What is the context of the situation that you're talking about? What is the end result that you're seeking? So when you have a proper prompting format and you understand the different techniques, you can get really a lot done. So we do a lot of training with individuals, with groups and things like that to give them those basic and advanced prompting skills. So we have the platform, we have the skills, but we also do outsourced development type things. So if you have your own platform and you'd like an agent to be able to do X, Y, or Z, we can work within your platform and get some of those things created for you. So, if you needed an agent that was really great at doing RFPs or creating custom content for client meetings or filling out account plans or whatever it is, like we can do that for clients as well. So we do it for Achieve, we do it on our platform, but we also do it on other platforms as well. So yeah, and if
Wow.
anybody's
That's a
interested,
lot.
yeah, that's a lot. It's a practice that we built sort of slowly over the years, but I'm really proud of where we are right now because I do think we have now an awareness and a skill set and a capability to help a lot of people get into this AI era that we're in right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are super excited to have Achieve Unite as part of the Selling Essentials Marketplace. And certainly any listeners can reach out to us and we can connect you. In the meantime, or for the end of this wonderful program, what would you like to leave our audience with that is one piece of advice they can start today? Maybe you can lead us into a prompt or something.
Um, yeah, I'd say if you're sitting here today and you are, and you still really haven't quite adopted it and you're still, I don't know, maybe you're fearful or something, but you just haven't quite taken that leap, I would say go search on the internet for just some introductory things to AI and to prompting, and give yourself the ability and some grace to be able to learn a new skill. I think if you can commit that to yourself in expanding your skills, at least you're starting to step in the right way. If you're already there, I'd say just keep going. There are so many places out there that you can learn about what's happening. I published a monthly newsletter that's all about AI, call it AI Unpacked, because it does not have to be as technical as some people think it is. You start talking about LLMs and tokens and agentic and a workload. Like sometimes that can be really scary for people. But really,
Mm.
if you can type a sentence, you can prompt. And so I know you can do that. And we do offer training. So if you're interested, go to the marketplace and reach out, and we'll connect you with that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I will say that um, I have used some of what you talked about at the conference.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they especially, I was pretty good, I thought, at giving prompts. But the imagine that you are
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
changed everything, right? Because I was still like talking to it like my mind works. And
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily help it to use its mind. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
great stuff.
There's a lot to be done with personas. So, like, the first thing that you should be doing when you're talking with somebody is making sure that they have a role, making sure that you give that agent a role. It could be one role, it could be three different roles. That's right there is the power move. And imagine that you are, it could be an enterprise salesperson, right? But it also could be, imagine that you are the CEO of this company that you're about to go talk to. What is that CEO concerned about? What are the main things happening in their market? What are the things that your company can provide value with? And structuring your content per audience. This is what I mean by hyper personalization. If I'm going to talk to you, I can say the same thing, but in your language, and then I could go and say the same thing to a marketing person or a technical person or a finance person, say the same things, use their language, and it all seems very hyper personalized, but it's all just done with AI and scale. So,
Wow. Great note to end on. Thank you very much, Jessica. It was great seeing you again.
it was
And
great.
thank you. Thank you, listeners. We'll hear you next time. Take care.
Bye.